Ryan, I was driving about 80 miles today
Mhm.
out to my last remaining client. I just have one marketing client left. Drove out to his place today, and then I went over to Costco in my 2021 Model Y using old, outdated hardware 3. And of course, so limited. The FSD is so limited because I'm using hardware 3. And Brian, it couldn't have driven any better,
Mhm.
including into the Costco parking lot and
Mhm.
starting to look for a way to park itself.
Mhm.
Couldn't have done better if it had been hardware 10 and FSD 25. I mean, it was a perfect drive there, back, and from Costco home. I mean, it's absolutely amazing how good the worst, the worst version, how
Mhm.
good it drives.
That's great. Yeah, and robotaxi expanding, and I think hardware 5 is AI 5 is just around the corner. So yeah, a lot of big things happening there.
So what as I was doing this drive, as I was getting home and thinking about how perfect this drive had been, it occurred to me that decision makers, I'm talking about decision makers who are retail investors making a
Mhm.
decision for their small portfolio, or there maybe a decision maker making a retail decision for their home office. Maybe it's a larger portfolio that they're overseeing, but also institutions, everybody out there that makes decisions about buying stock, buying any kind of stock, but maybe they've paid attention to Tesla a bit. If they haven't had the car drive them around town, including attempting to park in a Costco parking lot. And they're literally doing malpractice as a stock analyst.
Mhm. Yep.
I mean, you get what is the old saw? I forget who first talked about this. Like if you love the product,
Mhm.
if it's being traded,
Mhm.
go find out. If you really love something like Costco, I talk about Costco. Costco's amazing, absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. So it's
Yeah.
a great investment. My Apple computer was a great product. So it was a great investment.
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't had a chance to test out
Mhm.
the most consequential product, if it if it is rolled out as it looks like it's going to be,
Mhm.
if the execution continues to be pretty much flawless as it looks like it's going to be,
Mhm.
it'll be the most consequential product in terms of profitability in history.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So basically, it's like looking at Apple and when the iPhone gets released, not trying the iPhone. When AWS for Amazon is coming out, and you're not trying that, you're not understanding it, that you're missing everything about the new company that's forming up.
yeah, so that's just what occurred to me today. So I,
Yeah.
I know that people say that, Randy, you're just always, pushing the stock. You're, what do you call it? Pop and drop or something. Of course,
Yeah,
I
pump and
did,
dump.
I, I did sell a couple of weeks ago. Everybody's still giving me a hard time about that.
But like, you end up losing on that. So
I
the
know I lost
opposite of
I
pump and
lost
dump.
$8.50
Yeah.
in my 1 day trade.
Yeah.
Anyway, talking about somebody who has made money and lost money on Tesla, though, Kathy Wood
Mhm.
has bought what, $56 million item at least worth of
It seems
Tesla.
like an announcement every day or every week that she's buying more Tesla.
She
Because
bought,
basically the thesis they have is robotaxi,
yeah,
right? That's it. The thing is going to go up 10 times and all that kind of
yeah,
stuff. And it's happening now. So, this is when their conviction is basically it. It's like, this is happening. And so our thesis is happening right now. So now we're loading up any chance they get.
yeah. So they loaded up basically on their one stock. They got back to almost 10%. And on another one of their exchange traded funds, they're around 8% or something like that. So they're kind of bringing it back up to their maxes prior to the meeting next Wednesday. And I'm thinking that this is their timing. I think that's why they're doing it. Plus, it was kind of at a low price,
Right.
which would be another good reason, to make the decision now. And it kind of was. I really, really, really appreciate Kathy and all the things that she does, but I've never quite understood why she gets out of the stock all the time. But
Mhm.
this was confidence building it for me. as far as Kathy is concerned, that she's having the conviction, she's having the confidence of her conviction and actually
Mhm.
loading up basically just before we're going to probably see the stock just absolutely explode.
Yeah, I think that if it scales the way the bulls in ARK Invest is a bull in the Robotaxi story, then we're expanding the Austin area. Within a month or two, we could be in California and in Phoenix. The three states could go multi-city in Texas. They have the regulatory permission to do that, and they could expand the number of units. So the getting to 2,000 or 10,000 robotaxis in 15, 20 cities in three states could happen all before the end of the year. And that kind of surge would be something that would impact net income earnings and the whole perception of what you said was going to happen, of getting to 1 million vehicles is going to happen. It's the difference between Tesla, Robotaxi, and Waymo in terms of the speed of growth that will become clear. So over the next months, that whole story can play out, which would then validate their thesis. And if the stock didn't move significantly or as much as they might expect, it would be setting up for, and then we go wide next year with 1 million, 2 million vehicles. And then that would be, you know, like waiting for that to happen would definitely see most of the gains, already there. So.
So we've seen different conference calls after the earnings results. We've seen conference calls where Elon comes in and says, "Oh, things are terrible. Business is awful. The interest rates are too high." Moan and groan. We've seen that kind of a conference call. And then I think it was the same, wasn't it the second quarter last year, where he came out and he was all filled with enthusiasm and excitement, and the stock went up about 900 points during the call. So what kind of which Elon do you think we'll get this Wednesday?
I definitely think it's going to be the positive Elon because Robotaxi is rolling out. They just announced a new Model YL, a 6-seat Model Y. So that's going to introduce in China. So
Which we're going to talk
um,
about more in a minute.
we're going to go more in a minute. So I don't see how it could be negative about that. Energy is all going. So everything that is coming to fruition. So it shouldn't be any reason to be negative.
Okay, so we should see the positive Elon on next Wednesday. So do you think we had a very good day today. Stock was up, I think, 3 or 4%. I haven't looked at it recently, but
321, yeah.
yeah, 321. And so that could have been people realizing that if Kathy Wood's piling in, maybe it's time. That could have been partially the market had a pretty good day today after Trump said he wasn't going to fire Powell. So when people thought he was going to fire Powell, the market was going down. And then when he said, I'm not going to fire him, then it rebounded. So it could have been partially the market that was helping it go higher. And you can look at the trend line and it's pretty much the same as the market. So what do you think happens between now and then? Do you think people will start to pile in anticipation, or do you think they're gonna wait to see what happens?
In terms of before the earnings call.
Yeah.
Um, we're above certain key levels, right? Like we held back to 320. So we get to just a bit more positive stuff, just because of the new YL model. If they announce another vehicle, a compact Y, those any of those shoes dropping or indication that they will drop, or the further expansion of the robotaxi areas, all those things will be things that will move the stock up, and then we're into more positive trading ranges, and it'll be institutions starting to get FOMO or short squeezes or stuff like that, right? Plus, the overall market can be going well because we have had the tax cut bill, which is stimulative, right?
Right.
So there is, could be a 10% move just off that, and then if Tesla went with the market, There's there's a lot of things going well that would all be tend to be indicating we'll move up. Yeah.
So I was expecting, I guess I'm always too optimistic. I was expecting to already see some real evidence that people were taking advantage of the $7,500 tax incentive prior to its going away on September 30th. I haven't really seen anything. I checked with Troy Teslike, and he says he doesn't really get any numbers that are worth looking at until early August
Hmm.
in the United States, that is, before he can start seeing his numbers, is what do you call them, the VIN numbers.
Big numbers, yeah.
Yeah, so he says he can't really tell yet whether we're seeing those kind of increases. Have you seen anything, heard anything yet that would indicate whether U.S. sales are starting to see any results from people trying to front run that $7,500 situation?
I'm not seen that. But then Troy missed the last quarter by 3 or 4%. So he thought things were going to go down, and they went up.
Oh,
So um, I think, and the effort he puts into trying to track, sales and bid numbers, that kind of stuff, clearly that's, it's a tough thing to do,
right,
right? Um, Counter to that is I see no indication that things are going, bad. The sales are bad,
right, right.
right?
Other than
So
that, the head of North American sales was ended his time with Tesla after 15
mm,
years. I still don't know. I don't think we've seen anything that would indicate whether he was let go since sales have not been great for the last 2 years. Of course, he would have
mm.
gone, well, but wait a minute, that was your fault, Mr. Musk.
Have we found indications where a key executive leaves and then things go radically different?
No.
So like I think um, I think we've seen it for the charging. Just Elon laid off a bunch of people charging, and then people were worried that the charging wouldn't increase, but charging did increase.
Right.
So I think it's there's a lot more to the machine. Just like if in a 100,000 person company, some executive leaves, the work in your department keeps going on, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to be you know
Yeah,
again.
that's not to say that there aren't people that are just outstanding that they hate to see leave. But yeah, I would
Yeah,
think that their bench is pretty deep. But in this particular case, their bench is Elon because he's now in charge of North American
right,
sales and European sales. So
right.
maybe that was part of maybe the announcement of him taking over North American and European sales was part of this shift, knowing that this sales executive was planning to leave.
I think that means that more aggressive moves can be made
I think so.
because in all of it, like in the book autobiography of Elon by Isaacson, Elon was always pushing for more aggression in models, in releases. So now there's no buffer, so,
Yeah, yeah,
so he's just going to do it. So
yeah, and we've certainly seen since he's come back from DC, so much activity on all fronts, so many things taking place. I'd like so I'm hoping anyway that we see that kind of increase. Well, we had news today. I talked about it a little bit this morning, but I understand you've taken a kind of a deep dive into the new Model YL.
yes, I have. So here we have my deck. Let me get uh, the slideshow going. Um,
Yeah, easy for you to say.
okay, here we go. Slideshow. Okay,
There you go.
model YL. Here we are. So we see the actual vehicle itself. Looks great. It looks like a Model Y, and it's like a few inches longer, and it has more height in the back of it, so that the third row of seats that will have full size. So it's not like in any way compromised. You have three complete full rows of seats, two seats in each row. Here's a view from the back. They slightly changed the Y logo for
Hmm.
the back of it. It's going to be introduced in China first, probably August or September. Um, and this is, again, a side dark view, which you can see that the back of it is a bit elongated, right?
Right.
More
Mhm.
height, more length to it. This is an 𝐼TO, AITO, no I, M7. This is the top selling six-seat um, vehicle in China.
Okay.
They had about 193,000 sales last year. They're in the 250K to almost 400K won price range. The YL will supposedly start at 300,000 um,
Oh,
uh, won, which is about $41,000, $42,000
okay.
US equivalent. Um, Model Ys in China sell for about 20% less than they do in the United States. So
Right.
that might translate to a 48,000 or $50,000 US price. We'll see how that ends up working out. This is again the 𝐼TO, showing the interior, the six seats, and the competition. So you see the second row is what they call captain's chairs, where they're
Right.
separated, which is what the Mazda 5 has, where people can walk through
Oh,
the
yeah.
between the seats easily. I
Yep.
had a Mazda M5, which had the six seats. So it's a very easy. You get full utility of the six seats. There's no like hopping over, popping down the second row in order to get to the third row of seats.
Right.
Um, and so then of the in the China market, the China sells 25 million cars, roughly 700,000 are six-seat or larger SUV slash MPV hybrid, we have some other name for that kind of vehicle, priced at about 300,000 won or more, right? So most of the cars in China are not priced at that higher price range.
Sure.
But so of the ones in that category, because people usually analyze that category, then um, that initial TAM is 700,000. The new Tesla vehicle could grow the TAM, right? But getting a decent chunk of that, um, 30 to 40% of EV sales in a particular category is kind of like a topper end of what Tesla have done in China in the past.
Right.
Although recently it's gone off because of the number of models and competition in China. But now by adding more models, Tesla can potentially get back to 30-40% of all EVs in a particular category.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, and so then if you're looking at 10-20% of 700,000, that could be 70,000 to 140,000 sales of that in a reasonable expectation.
Mhm.
Also, there would be a surge of China buyers tend to buy more of a new model that they really like, right? So there could be a surge of sales before it settles down into a more stable market share. For the category that Tesla's in, right now, in the first half of the year, Tesla's got 8% of all EVs, of all cars, not
Mhm.
just EVs, in
Mhm.
China over 250,000 won, because the Model Y starts at 260,000, 263,000 in China. Electric vehicles of that price range, 1.2 million in the first half. And then Tesla's got 14% of just Model Y, and then you have another 6% of our Model 3, so 20%
Mhm.
of that particular category. So 20% of that category EVs is not unreasonable for a six-seater, 140,000 sales, only for half of a year less, so maybe only 70,000
For
sales
this year. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
this year. Um, and then this goes to the Compact Y. So I'm still expecting the Compact Y to drop, and that potentially has 10 times the addressable market of the six-seat luxury version, because it's about like 11 million sales of that in the 180 to 250,000 price range, which is about 25,000, $35,000. And then of EV version of that, that's up to 7 million.
Hmm.
So then the market share of the 10% to 20% or 17% can get you to the 1.1 million, 1.3 million. Like if I say 10% of all cars,
Mhm.
1.1 million, of the new energy vehicles, if I get 17% share of that, that's 1.3 million. So that could potentially be, more than, you know, uh, you know, toward the 10 times what the 140,000 sales of 20% of the six-seat premium market.
All right. And so you're saying that that's just in China. You're saying those are
Just China, just China.
just China. That doesn't count the exports
That's
from
not like exports. Yeah,
from China.
from China. So China exports to rest of Asia and rest of the world, and they export say half of the vehicles they produce. So then if they start exporting those, you could double these numbers to 140,000 if you got 10% of the 60 premium, or 280,000 of that, by going beyond China just from production in China. So you can get,
So yeah, so you're going to need to be able to produce a lot more cars. Now we know we've seen all the videos last year where they were producing them faster.
Mhm.
They were, able to spit them out in what was it, 30 seconds? I can't even remember now. I want to say it
Yeah,
was
30 seconds. Yeah, about
30
30 seconds.
seconds. Yeah. So that was a substantial increase. So the fact that they're coming out with this six-seater, and if you're right, and I think you will be right, that we're going to have this shorter version of the Model Y that is going to address even a bigger TAM, that this would be uh, doable in the same factory,
Yeah.
given the faster throughput.
Right. And you know, doubling or tripling these numbers for a global situation is definitely possible. So it could have a substantial impact with a solid launch. And it seems very competitive pricing on this. Um, Go ahead. Yeah.
So I was thinking that the Model 3 probably won't, I'm sorry, the Model Q, which would be the shorter version of the Model Y, as you've talked about, that this probably wouldn't be introduced in the United States until fourth quarter, after we've maxed out this $7,500 opportunity. And so a lot of people have said, well, we don't want to Osborne the rest of the line by showing this shorter version until fourth quarter. Do you think there's any chance that it'll be offered in China before it's offered in the United States, earlier than the beginning of the fourth quarter?
The compact Model Y is hugely more important to the China and European markets than it is to the US market.
I see.
The US buys bigger vehicles. This six-seat Y is far more important to the US market. Having a true six-seat SUV
Oh,
is more important to the US market because the US, two-thirds of US car sales, of the 14 million vehicles, 10 million are big pickup trucks and big SUVs,
I see.
right? So, and people generally don't buy $25,000 cars, for new cars. They buy $25,000 used cars, which are, again, a big car
Yeah,
that they got at a lower price because of the fact that it's used, right? They don't, Americans just tend not to buy small cars, right? That it's a tiny, tiny, tiny market for that. So that means that the introduction, yes, the addressable market is bigger for the small car, but it's bigger markets in China and Europe, right? Because Europeans want the hatchback. It's just a fact that they have less money to spend on vehicles. They want a smaller vehicle. The smaller vehicle fits better into
right,
their lifestyle because
right.
they're not going to Costco or Walmart warehouse to buy stuff. They're not, doing a bunch of stuff. So it's the lifestyle of people in those areas aligns with smaller cars.
So I think it was AJ was saying that if we, and I'm sorry, AJ, if I'm completely misquoting you, but I think I have it right, that if we make the longer, the six seat version, and haven't we had a seven-seat version in the US?
Yes, seventh seat version of the Model Y, but the sixth and seventh seats are tiny, kind of like not really um,
Usable.
a proper third row seat. It's for kids, for small adults. Yes.
Okay, so if we did the full-on six-seater in the United States, I think he was suggesting that this would be cannibalizing the existing sales of Model Y, might not add to the overall TAM.
I don't think it cannibalizes that, like when I was, you know, when I think of myself buying vehicles, okay, I'm going to get a three-row MDX, right? I'm not thinking about five-seat vehicles, right?
I see.
I got to have that third row seat. And the fact that you're offering ones where the third row is tiny,
Yeah.
that's a turnoff in
Yeah.
America. Like, I need to have a proper, if I want a third row, I want people to go in and be able to sit there properly. If it's a third row that's not really working, it's folded down all the time, it's not being used, it's not like, it's not fitting the use case, right? So I do not, if there is cannibalization, it's not that much. To have a proper third row, if you had disqualified the Model Y because it doesn't have a proper third row,
Mhm.
like yes, you have a 7 seat version, but the six and seven seat are not real, right? You're only giving it, uh, I guess it's a point one, point two, where it's like kind of there.
Yeah,
So it's for people who, oh, I got third row and I got small kids. I'm gonna stick them back there, right? Okay, then I'm kind of okay with it. But I'm still thinking, hey, I'm gonna have this car for more than 10 years. The
yeah,
kids will grow up,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? They won't be small all the time, right? So then you're still thinking forward and thinking, the fact that it works now and it's not going to work in 6, 7 years when they get bigger,
Right.
right? Is it say I'm expecting to hold this car, right? So then I don't think the cannibalization's there. Just it doesn't, like you're either looking for a proper third row or you're not, and so I don't think it cannibalizes at all and it increases sales.
So do you think that there's a chance that the Model YL could be introduced in the US before the Model YS small?
Yeah, yeah. I think you would want for the U.S. market, the YL is more important than a YS
Wow.
because of the nature of what people are buying,
Interesting.
right? Um, but YS matters for shipments to Mexico, shipments to wherever, again, places where people want compact cars. Because again, look at parking lots, it's all
Yeah,
big
yeah,
cars.
yeah, yeah. So this would speak to what we've seen over and over again, especially been pointed out by Stephen Mark Ryan and others, that it was going to be models that were going to be introduced and not just a model.
Right.
We might have a six-seater and it doesn't
Compact.
have to be a hatchback, just a smaller Model Y that might be also reduced in term, maybe it doesn't have the sunroof, maybe it doesn't have the same wheels or any less expensive wheels, etc.
Right, right. And like I said, it's more important for different markets. Like the YL is more important for the United States. I don't think it cannibalizes. I think, the whole thing about the same $100 tax credit doesn't apply to that. They should roll it out earlier in the United States. I think maybe they're not for a logistical reason that um, China's just better at rolling out new
I see.
models
Yeah.
because they roll out the refreshed Juniper Model Y in China first, get that sorted out, and then take the lessons over to other places because the China team is just better able to introduce it. So it's more that logistics than timing of sales and,
Yeah.
and tax credits.
Okay, on to the economy. The beige book came out today and it was pretty beige.
Mhm.
It wasn't really, it was not like, oh boy, things are going great. And it wasn't like, oh no, business is going south. By the way, for those who don't know, the beige book is the Fed's book that they put out once a month. I'm sorry, I think it's only every 6 weeks that they put it out, and it covers all of the different Fed districts in one book. So they break it down, the Empire District, the Philadelphia District, the Chicago District. They're all broken down, and you can see how each district is doing, but then it amalgamates it into one storyline. And basically, it was pretty close to what we've been saying on this channel. Business is okay, but it's not exploding yet. The tariffs are having no impact on anything. Slight impact, maybe. Some manufacturers starting to talk about maybe they're seeing some tariff stuff but mostly they're eating it. It said in this report, mostly they are eating it, so it is hurting margins. And that housing is flat. Housing pricing is flat. So even though the CPI still says housing's a problem, the beige book is acknowledging that housing pricing is down. And there was no evidence. Here's the thing I've been looking for. The Fed says they're looking for the tariffs to impact the market. I've been looking for the $15 trillion that Trump has amassed that's supposed to be coming in and starting to build factories in the United States. I've been looking for construction to begin increasing, for machine purchases to start increasing, and for automation equipment, et cetera, the kind of things that are at the beginning levels of new factories and new distribution centers. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, so it seems that there's far more lag in both any positive or negative things.
Right,
The thing, or if they're impacting, they're both canceling each other out,
right,
and that it's not much has changed. Um, Although, like we did see the positive June quarter where we didn't have a debt increase and stuff like that. So the I think the positive news is that things can be retriggered. It will have an impact, but it's not being as a sudden shock in either direction.
right. Well, there was other good news today. Italy signed a $15 billion deal with American Natural Gas. This was with which was a deal that Trump put together, of course, or at least he's going to take credit for it. And this was a question of ditching Russia for the next 20 years. So
Right,
sorry, Mr. Putin, people don't like you anymore.
right. So that goes to Trump's plan to stop the people who are buying from Russia from doing so. You know, China, India, are the other one. Europe, as you described there, where basically is going to, within what 50 some days, put in big 100% tariffs to cut off the activity to Russia.
And in the article I was looking at, it said there was a plot twist, and it says this happened right after Italian PM Maloney met with Trump and right before his tariff threat deadline.
Hmm.
So this
Right.
must have been a little trade-off of the which he does a lot. He a lot of times people that aren't paying a lot of attention to what he's doing with the tariffs is a lot of times he's actually making a deal saying, if you will give me a guarantee that you're
Yeah.
going to buy XYZ from the United States, then I'll
Yeah.
give you a break on the tariffs.
Right. So it's a lot of open negotiations as opposed to slow behind the door negotiations, where it's like he's negotiating through the headlines with multiple people, like, hey, we're doing this thing, and it's just faster. Even though it's not as fast as he may have promised or hoped or thought it would be, it still is far faster than the proper diplomatic way
Right,
to doing
right, right,
things.
right, right, 100%. Yeah. And by the way, he also announced that we hit 113 billion now in tariffs year to date, which is more than I think any total year. I don't think
Mhm.
there's ever been a year that we've had more than $100 billion in tariff income. So this is very, very good news and was 50% of the reason, as you pointed out, that we had a June surplus for the first
Mhm.
time since 2017. We had a surplus to the coming in, and about half of that was because of the tariffs, and about half of the reason for the surplus was reduction in government spending.
Right,
New.
right.
All right, you got anything else that you on the Tesla front or the economic front before we look at the numbers?
No.
All right, let's go ahead then. So we have Tesla, which is where we always start. I don't know why we always start with Tesla. It was up 350 during the normal hours. I'm sorry, 3.5% during normal hours to 321.67. It's up another 21 cents or 0.07% in the pre-market. So we'll take anything we can get. Let's go ahead and look at, this was the one that, of course, everybody knows okay. I think the most important number every single day is bonds, the 10-year bond. If people on this channel don't realize that's what I think is the most important number, you haven't been really watching the channel, or maybe you're not waiting until the numbers. But I think the 10-year bond is key. Trump talks a lot about trying to get the Fed to reduce the Fed rate, but the Fed rate would be important. It impacts your car interest rate. It impacts your credit card interest rate. If you take out a small business loan, it impacts those kind of interest rates. It doesn't impact your house interest rate. That is the 10-year note, the 10-year treasury. So this is the one that I'm looking to, and it also impacts major corporate bonds. Usually they kind of go along with the 10-year. They're going up or down around the same as the 10-year. So where are we today? Well, we were down earlier, but by, you know, We're up 0.4 in the pre-market so far, still sitting at 4.46. So that's a few basis points under that 4.5. Whoops, I think we've lost your sound if you're trying to
Oh,
talk.
what interest rate is at 5%? There's one of the interest rates is at 5%, right?
I think that would probably be, let me look inside just a second here. We are looking at, yes, the 20-year. Is it both the 20 and the 30? Interestingly, as I look at it right now, both of those are exactly at 5.011. So it doesn't matter whether you're going to get it for 20 years or 30 years, you're still going to be at almost exactly 5%.
So those long ones being out is general lack of confidence that the overall debt thing is going to go down because they've gone up like 1%, right? Like up from 4 to 5, right? For the 2030 year.
So I have been studying I never cared about the bonds until 2 years ago. So during this 2 year time, when I've been reporting on them every single day, twice a day, I started to study them. I've started to study what are the impact, where's the impacts coming from? And, hopefully that's part of the reason why you watch this channel is because I try to really become an expert on some of these things. So bonds are impacted by what other countries' dollar currencies are worth.
Mhm.
So as the dollar currencies go up and down, their bonds go up and down in the opposite direction to the value of their currencies. That's also true for US currencies. So as our currency goes up, our bonds go down or vice versa, the yield on our bonds. It's impacted by whether these other countries want to buy more of our bonds and also whether the sovereign debt of these other countries, the sovereign wealth funds, of these other countries, or whether it's them buying it for their banking institutions, their federal banks. But sometimes they're buying our bonds in order to have an underpinning. Our treasury notes are a great underpinning for their currencies, kind of like gold is for us.
Yeah.
So they use it as an underpinning for their currencies. And then there's just the US market, where people are usually trying to make at least 1.5% over inflation on their long-term bonds. So right now, nobody thinks inflation is above 2.5, and yet we're paying 4.5. So it's 2% over instead of 1.5. And some people, like Truflation, thinks we're under 2. So that would be more suggesting a 3.5% bond rate right now, yield on the 10-year. So there's more. Believe me, there's
So basically, then for a long-term structural reduction,
right.
then all these negotiations around taxes, around tariffs, has to stabilize to a clear, here are the numbers and here's the impact. And we go from $2 trillion per year in debt down to 1 trillion or something like that because the growth happened like that. So basically, things got to settle enough to like, okay, now I forecast this will then extend out in a good way for 20 years. Because right now, things are kind of up and down at the various opinions, and they're thinking, don't know, gonna err on the side of I need to have more interest rate to offset my uncertainty, right?
Yes.
But if it settles down to a certainty of I now believe the trueflation number, I believe we're at 1%, all this tariff stuff has stabilized to something, taxes have stabilized to something, and now the debt levels are at a certain level. So then the picture becomes clear, and then I can take out risk premiums that are currently there.
Right.
Right.
That's as right as we can be in 5 minutes.
Right. Okay. Sounds good.
So like I say, there's more. There's also a really big issue with regard to the value of stocks which have dividends and what those dividends rates are compared to bonds. It goes on and on. Anyway,
Right.
But right now what we're looking at is bonds staying stubbornly high.
Yeah.
And but we'll see. Maybe they'll come down, as you point out, as things stabilize. We might see those come down. We've got oil. To do the oil today, back up a little bit, but not bad. We're sitting pretty around $66.50 has been where we've been for a couple of weeks, without not a lot of change since things settled down in the Middle East. I would expect that to come down as we go into the fall. That's when it normally goes down. Nat gas surprisingly did not go up on the news of the Italian decision, but we've been sitting pretty high anyway, $3.56. That's a little bit on the high end
Hmm.
of the market. Any thoughts on natural gas or oil?
Oh, on natural gas, I see that being a long-term high because of the AI data center build out. That all that AI data center in general building out means more natural gas usage because you need to rapidly pull that online.
Right.
So I see that staying structurally high for many years, if not decades, until you get something else going.
Pennsylvania had a big meeting yesterday. Probably should have reported on this just generally. President Trump was there. I think he was there for this meeting in Pittsburgh, where Pennsylvania wants to be the center of the AI revolution, not Silicon Valley. They want to be it. So
Hmm.
they want to see data centers built in Pennsylvania. They want to see oil and gas extracted. They want to see their their location by the Great Lakes as a great opportunity. They have lots and lots and lots. What they're saying is they have lots and lots. Carnegie Mellon is there.
Hmm. Right.
Penn State is there. I mean, just go on and on. They have a lot of things going for them, they claim, that would make them a perfect location for people to put a lot of their infrastructure for the AI revolution. And
So,
so,
so they're one of the places, you have North Dakota, West Virginia, um, um, where else? There are several major spots for that. And then on the continent, you also have Alberta
right,
uh, as well. So there's so much demand, and we'll fall behind the demand that all the places get built out.
right.
So there's no question, like Tennessee, blah, blah, blah. It's like everywhere that has it will get built out. All the um, state leadership, all the companies that want to do it, they will, knock down any barrier and start accelerating that stuff happening, which we will
Except
discuss.
for, except
Right.
for, except for our state.
California, yes.
Yes. So those of you who are thinking that you're going to vote for uh, Gavin Newsom someday in the future, just keep in mind that Texas, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, all these places he just mentioned, South Carolina, these states are all fighting like crazy to get to be part of this AI boom and knocking down regulations, making every concession in order to get it to happen in their states. Not hearing nothing in California, not hearing squat.
Right. But also all the recent deals in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, that was all to get access to even more natural gas. Qatar has more natural gas than the United States does, but they haven't not producing as much. So, uh, also reason to have peace with Iran and Russia because they have a lot of natural gas, right? But those are kind of like all, if you don't get it, then you just have to go sooner to mass produce nuclear power, right? But the demand for all this power, something that we'll be discussing in our super intelligence book,
Oh,
is
what
that
is there going to be a book?
I think the book,
Oh,
yeah,
there's going to be. Well, by the way,
yeah,
we'll have a show here in a couple of hours. Watch it tonight at 7:45. We'll talk in detail about what this book is going to be about.
yeah. But everything in terms of energy prices, um, technology stocks, it's all based upon what's going to happen with superintelligence and what's already happening there. And the demand for energy is going to change the world.
So gold, which is another one of those things that 15,000 things impact the price of gold, but gold is flat today, sitting at, well, a little bit up during the regular hours and then flat in the pre-market. 33.57. We have a kind of a fun thing on the channel. Maybe I mentioned it last Wednesday. 33.33. So gold seems like it's always at 33.33 for the last like 3 weeks. Right now it's at 33.57. So it is above our little hash mark.
Mhm.
Silver, which broke through its all-time high, has now fallen below its all-time high, back to $38.16, but it is up a little bit in the aftermarket, and copper down a little bit, 28.28%, but at 550, where it's been pretty much 550 ever since the 50% tariffs. So
Mhm.
it's on gold, silver, or copper.
Yeah, no, no, no comment on that.
Okay. I mean, we will be covering at least silver and copper in the book as well, because both of them are critical to the build out of everything that we've been just talking about. Okay, we've got the dollar. It's bouncing around. It's got no direction right now, but it's there's nothing to say about the dollar right now that I can see. But Bitcoin, there's been something to say about Bitcoin all week. So we've got Bitcoin back up to 119. That's still a couple of $1,000 under its all-time high. So everybody's talking about, is it going to 250 or is it going back to 170?
I think there was a
I'm sorry,
pause, a delay in those.
70, not 170.
There was a delay in those crypto bills
Yeah.
that didn't get through some procedural things in the House. If they're going to pass, it's just some adjustments can be made. Perhaps some politician might be paid off or something like that, but it will happen, and then that will be a stimulus to get Bitcoin moving again.
Okay, all right. And then for the futures, for the equity futures, we've got the Dow down 73. We got let's do percentages. Actually, all three down about 0.15%. So that makes it easy. A little bit more or less, but 0.15 across the board. So that would indicate a little bit of a sell-off coming tomorrow. Maybe, maybe not. All right. So that's all the news that I know about. Brian, I'm going to give you one last chance to add to any of that, or with my other guests on at this hour, I always give them an opportunity to float some wisdom.
Nothing. I got nothing right now.
Yeah, nothing. The wisest guy we got, and he needs more time to think, folks. That's all. He wants to have a chance to think it through. All right, Brian. So everybody, I just want to remind you, come on back. 7:45, probably, maybe a little before that, 7:30. We will publish the story of our book, the upcoming book. You will want to buy it, but we're also going to give you an opportunity to kind of be part of it. You could be a part of it. All right. So come on back and see that. Brian, as always, appreciate you coming on Wednesday.
Thank you.
And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.